Good afternoon. According to my schedule, it's 2 o'clock, and you all have places to go, people to see, things to do. So we'll get started, and if anybody comes in, they can catch up with us. So I'd like to welcome you to this training this afternoon, and to ask you to make sure you have all 3 handouts. Oh, 4 handouts. I forgot that Ed added one. He's just trying to see if I'm on the ball. And so I also ask you, as a courtesy to everybody else in the room, to please turn off your cell phones and put them away. It is never appropriate to have your cell phone in a meeting, a workshop, or during work hours, unless it is for the use of work or a true emergency. Also, over the period of time I've been here, some of you have said to me that you hate in-service and webinars because you're perfectly capable of reading, and all the person presenting does is read what's on the screen. Except for a couple of places today, I am not reading what's on the screen, so I expect you to pay attention and read it, and to take it home and read it, and it will be on this particular handout. You all give me a hard time, so this is my opportunity to give you one. But we'll have some fun as well. So what is the role of staff in resident, person-centered care? That's our challenge for today and beyond. Christy told me that some of you, when you saw the title of this in-service, asked, what the is culture change? It is many things, and we're going to explore all of them, or most of them, some of them just touching the surface today. The question behind the question was most probably, why do I care, and how does it affect me? I plan on answering that. Upon completion of this, hopefully you will be able to describe the goals of cultural care. You'll understand your role and the role of your fellow workers, and you'll be able to clarify the needs and expectations of our residents and families. So let's start with a simple explanation of culture from the Cambridge English Dictionary, which states that culture is the way of life, especially the general customs and belief of a particular group of people at a particular time. The term culture includes all aspects of life within a particular environment. For our purpose today, that is the culture, particular environment that exists in the Mayflower community. Health Center, South Village, BB, and all phases of independent living. Long-term care understands a facility to be a place where residents make their home. A place where a person lives and calls home should nurture the human spirit as well as meet their medical needs. Culture change is a movement that seeks to create an environment for residents in which they will be offered person-centered care. This involves following the residents' routines rather than those imposed by the facility, allowing residents to make their own decisions, encouraging spontaneous activity opportunities, and treating each resident as an individual with their own set of values, preferences, and lifestyles. Person-centered care is the what, while culture change is the how and the why. Person-centered care is about practices that support and respect the individual. Practices that are driven by our residents. Culture change is about how we do what we do. The design of our process, the relationships, and the values that we share tell us the why. Person-centered care and culture change are an important component of the right of residents to care and services to attain or maintain the highest practicable physical, mental, and psychosocial well-being, as promised in the 1987 Nursing Home Reform Law. So let us quickly review the history, very quickly review the history of long-term care. It began in England in the 12th and 15th centuries. It spread to the American colonies and was established in the cities and towns of most of the states. In the 20th century, as the industrialization took place, people began to live longer, and when we live longer, we need more care. Current federal and state long-term care programs began with the Social Security Act in 1935, Medicare in 1965, and a variety of changes for people with handicaps and disabilities in the 1950s and 60s. Today, as all of us know, the guidelines and the programs seem to continually change. The next two slides are taken from your handout in your packet that explains the residents' rights as guaranteed by the federal 1987 Nursing Reform Law. No matter what position you hold at Mayflower, it is essential that you are familiar with residents' rights and residents' choices. It's your responsibility to read and to understand what are our residents' rights. Therefore, keep these documents. Don't throw them in the trash. Keep them where you can find them and refer to them when you have a question or when you're confused by what something means. At the same time as you observe these rights, it is as important to observe HIPAA. It's a word we all know, but it's a word that we sometimes let drift over our head. HIPAA stands for the American Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1986. It's a set of rules to be followed by doctors, hospitals, and other healthcare providers. That's each one of you in this room to some extent. You must obey HIPAA. It ensures that information about our residents are handled at a consistent standard of documentation and with privacy. It is your responsibility to be certain that you're observing all these rights at all times. Read all 3 slides and refer to them when you have a question. Any questions so far? HIPAA protects our residents' right to privacy and confidentiality. It is not only necessary that our administration and nursing staff are in compliance, but that everyone in contact with our residents are also in compliance. So what does that mean? Well, it means no sharing of information about residents, including whether they are in the health center or the hospital. No gossip about conversations shared or overheard. No exchange of personal information. No taking of pictures without permission. No sharing of pictures or information on Facebook or in emails. Remember, everyone, residents and staff, deserve their right to privacy and confidentiality. Please be very careful relaying anything you hear, see, or say. Ed provided you with a social media update. And Ed, is there anything you'd like to say about it?
Yes. I've added one word.
The microphone, sir.
The policy, there's been one word added under background in the 5th line. The 5th word in the word exploitation has been added with a definition. In the Des Moines Register within the last couple of weeks, there has been an article about staff who have used a new social media I'm not even aware of, Snapchat, to post pictures of residents. One person was covered with feces. The other one was on a bed, undressed. It's very discouraging that is out there, and so we have amended this policy to specifically talk about exploitation.
Thanks, Ed. Whoops. Don't break a hip. Although we do still need to fill some beds, don't we? The long-term care industry has seen many culture changes, and those who were pioneers in the industry could not have imagined how long-term care would change by the time they retired and needed care themselves. Many of our staff and residents today still remember the early nursing homes and their drab institutional surroundings and inferior quality of care. How many of you in this room are over 60? So there are a lot of people here that remember those days. Mayflower Homes has always been unique in providing quality care for the elderly due to the vision of Dr. Royal Montgomery, who sought to create an environment that would be congenial and stimulating, not only for retired ministers and missionaries, but for other like-minded couples and individuals. In 1950, the state of Iowa adopted the Articles of Incorporation for Mayflower Homes, and the dream was fulfilled. The mission statement and goals for the community were developed and accepted, and they continued to be, that one's out of place. And they continue to be our guidelines for offering services today. They define how our culture develops and guide our practice of person-centered care. That was the one I wanted. Mayflower is a place to call home, a place where we affirm the dignity and worth of residents and staff. And please make note of what our goal is. It is commitment to provide a place in which residents experience the finest quality of life. Before the early 1980s, people with disabilities who needed government-funded long-term care had few choices other than to live in a nursing home or state institution. Changes in federal policies and Medicaid funding over the years have made home and community-based care a viable option. We have indeed come a long way, and we seek to continue moving forward at Mayflower with a community that provides a home-like atmosphere and good quality care. So why change when the model we use has worked? And we have modified it as the years have passed. Just as long-term care changed for your parents and grandparents, so the nature of long-term care will be very different when many of you are ready for it. It is all good, but it means that those of us working in long-term care have to revise the way we work to meet the expectations of our residents and their families. Believe it or not, aging happens to all of us. You are now approximately 20 minutes older than you were when you entered this room. Some of you older than that. From the day we are born, we are journeying toward death. And that's not, a depressing thing. It is a fact that we continue to move forward. Death is a natural process. It is not a disease. And we have to start looking at aging as a journey and looking towards death as a positive, not a disease. There is no cure for death. When we act on the medical model, we act as if there is a cure for aging and death. And when we do that, we offer less than quality of life when we try to only retain quantity of life. Every 8 minutes, someone in America turns 65 years old. Anyone turning 65 this year? No one that'll admit it anyway. This is a vital, active, growing group who continue to contribute their gifts, vision, and energy to the community. 50 is the new 30. That's what they claim, and I'd agree. In the year 2000, almost 10 million people needed some form of long-term care in the United States. Of this population, 3.6 million, 37%, were under age 65. And 6 million, 63%, were over age 65. Almost 70% of people turning age 65 will need some form of long-term care in their lives. We were all getting used to dealing with our residents' children who were born before 1946 and 1964, between 1946 and 1964. Who would that be in this room? Who was born between 1946 and 1964? You are the generation, the boomers, that we have been used to. But you are now moving towards becoming 70 years old. And you will then be retiring. And soon, we will be dealing with the children and grandchildren who were born in the 1980s and 1990s, the millennials. Who in this room was born between 1980 and 1990? Admit it or not, but you represent the families that we are going to begin to deal with. So think, yes, Kat, would you stand up? Kat, stand up, please. Turn around. Now, show the face that you made when I said, you will be the people we'll be dealing with. It was even worse than that. And she knows why. Because there are about 80 million of these millennials. They are tech savvy and idealistic, seeking to make the world a better place, and already changing every aspect of politics, business, including healthcare and long-term care. If you wonder what kind of chaos the millennials can cause, just reflect on the last 2 weeks of the political conventions. The millennials are looking for a meaningful lifestyle, increased exercise, healthier eating, a sustainable environment, preventive and alternative medicine, retirement communities, and long-term health care that promote quality of life, respect for the whole person, and death with dignity. These are the family members who will be advocating for their parents and grandparents in the near future. They will demand community environments that promote both quality of life and quality of care. To meet the new expectations, our understanding and goals need to change. The long-term care system was based on a medical model which regarded residents as frail or sick patients unable to care for themselves. Routines were organized for the efficient operation of the facility rather than the needs of residents. The outcome of this approach to care is to treat the residents' weaknesses, not to develop their strengths. How many of you, 50 and over, consider yourself to be now or in the next 10 to 15 years as weak and frail? I don't see any hands. This next slide is simply a comparison of what to expect between the medical model and the person-centered care model. In the institutional model, of which you are familiar, we wake residents up based on the schedule convenient for our staff, while in person-centered practice, residents get up on natural waking patterns and resident choice. Likewise, we serve meals 3 times a day based on state law and the convenience for dietary staff and nursing schedules. Baths and showers are given on a weekly roster designed to provide for all residents at a time within the bath aide's schedule. Person-centered care allows residents to shower and bath daily if they wish, and at a time of their preference. And I see you, Crystal, taking a deep breath. But it will change. It will change what we do and how we do it. Only when our reason for supporting a resident's choice is based on everyone's understanding of how choice is the individual's right, and that we truly respect the choice and ability of every one of our residents to control their own life, are we looking at culture change. Only then is the practice likely to sustain for the long term. In the traditional model of care for elders, we set our goal at quality of care. And for the most part, we achieve it. However, what is often lost is the quality of life. It is possible to achieve quality of care, and listen to this carefully. It is possible to achieve quality of care without quality of life. But we cannot achieve quality of life without quality of care. And that is why every single one of you in this room is so important to the Mayflower team. Research has identified that the 3 major problems of our elderly in long-term care are loneliness, helplessness, and boredom. Just consider for a moment what life can be like, even here at Mayflower. Residents are confined to a space much smaller than they have lived in their whole lives, often unable to move about freely on their own, with little control over their day, waiting for someone to help them with their ADLs. Now reflect on how you feel when you have to wait and wait and wait. Standing in line or sitting in waiting rooms, traffic jams, for service in a restaurant, or even for your computer to boot up. Do you know anyone who looks forward to these minutes that seem like hours, surrounded by strangers and subjected to someone else's timetable? Probably not. Instead, we seek to fill our lives with enriching, sensual, and joyful experiences, habitual or new, planned or spontaneous. It is no different for our residents. At Mayflower, we are working towards person-centered care, a model that helps overcome the plagues of the past and that ensures a quality of life where residents define their needs and priorities. We realize that people need purpose in our lives. What our residents want is a home where they can live for the rest of their lives as individuals, where they continue to live as closely as possible the life they lived before moving into long-term care. Linda Bump, a pioneer in person-centered care, put it quite simply. And if you don't remember anything else from today, and you might even think of putting this on a card in your pocket, always ask yourself, what does the resident want? How did or does the resident do it at their home? How do you do it at home? And how should we do it here? There are 12 areas of quality of life that have been identified as important to the elderly in long-term care. You have it in your set of handouts. The one which in the first has the questionnaire about what people need, and then on your second page has the 12 areas of quality of life, the second page in the handout. I just want to highlight the most mentioned concern of residents and their families, which are often raised at care conferences. Number one is security, a feeling of an overall sense of safety, knowing, just as you want to know in your home that your possessions are safe, that there will be somebody around to help you if you need it, whether it's family, friends, ambulance, police. They want to feel safe and not be anxious about how they are going to be treated and how their possessions will be treated. How would you feel if your precious quilt was thrown on the floor? Or your books and pictures were treated carelessly? Secondly, they want to be able to function independently. So the room needs to be set up so that they can get around it easily, even when using a walker and a wheelchair. It's the only control they have. How can I get around my room on my own? I know, annoying sometimes for staff, but it's a right. And think how you would feel if you had to rely on somebody else all the time. Reaching things they need. This means that every time you leave, before leaving a room, you have to ask if things are in reach. I often hear staff say, I just left there and now she's ringing the bell again. Why is that? Because after you left, maybe the tray table wasn't put back. The call light wasn't in place. The person needed a blanket. Or maybe they needed to go to the bathroom and you never asked them that. But most importantly, I learned this lesson when I was in a body cast in the hospital. And I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I needed help. I went to reach for my call light. And the staff had put my tray table and my call light on the other side of the room. The lights were out, the door was closed, and I could hear the staff laughing and talking in the hallway. There was no way they could hear me, and there was no way I could get help. It is a helpless feeling. They also want to take care of themselves as much as they can. They don't want you to wait on them. They just need you to wait on them. Another issue is privacy. Not just an opportunity to have some private space and time alone, to feel they can have a conversation with a friend or talk on the phone without somebody listening in. But they like to be able to go to the bathroom without feeling they're being watched. You may think that leaving the door a little way open is no problem. How would you feel even if you went downstairs to the staff bathroom and your friends were at the sink talking and the bathroom door was partially open and you couldn't do anything about it? Privacy and dignity are important. And then they like to have a sense that they are recognized as individuals, that they're not just one of a bunch of old people, but that they are recognized for the whole and unique person they have been their whole life. Dignity and autonomy are also important. You've heard it before, and you'll hear it again. Please read the qualities of life and the examples and add to them yourself. You, the Mayflower staff, make this happen or not. How you communicate is key. Residents will get the message of their worth from you. Just think about it. Think of the time that you have not been respected by teachers, by peers, by bosses, and you have felt like you're worthless. Many of our residents can be made to feel that way. The primary goal of Mayflower is to help staff and families value each other in the service of the resident. So who do you need to be in contact with to do your work to the best of your abilities? Take a moment and write down a list, or think about that. And anyone want to volunteer some of the people that you need to be in contact with every day to do your work to the best of your abilities? Nobody knows. Okay, here are some of the people I listed. Take a look in your sheet, and when you have time, sit down and add your own contact. For nursing, I had put this together before I thought about the fact that we now have to deal with MCO coordinators. That was one more I added to the list. And then, when I got an email today from Kelly, I remembered discharge planners. To do our jobs successfully, we have to communicate. It's absolutely essential. We have to develop a strong Mayflower team that is respected by our colleagues, service providers, and suppliers. You already provide the best care and environment for our residents, but we can always improve. You interact with them daily and show interest and friendship to them. Most of you demonstrate that you don't come to work every day just to do a job, but that you know that you have a sacred task to work together to strengthen the hope of our residents and their families. You may think this is difficult now. In the future, it will get harder. It won't happen tomorrow or 2 months from now, and some changes won't happen for another year or more. We have time to improve. In the future, to remain a 5-star facility, we also have to be the equivalent of a 5-star hotel. We have to work harder at what is called customer service. As long-term care providers, we have to be taking our cues from the hospitality business in offering services to residents and their families. In business, as in life, healthy competition raises the bar of performance and expectation. With the wave of baby boomers soon to reach the shores of Mayflower, competition amongst the healthcare providers in the area will grow. There is increased attention for facilities to develop guest hospitality as a way to improve organizational performance and customer satisfaction. It is also an opportunity to set oneself apart from intense local competition through a cultural change. Now, why do each one of you care? That's Bob's problem, right? No. Why do each one of you care? Because you may not feel that good about your job. You may not think you make that much money an hour, but if we don't compete, there will be no jobs and there will be no money. So we have to be as invested in creating an organization that is known as the finest, even by people who have never entered our doors. We have to show that making people happy is what we do best. We must be prepared to offer personalized service, get to know residents and family, listen to their requests, anticipate residents' needs before they make them, give exceptional care at all times. Long-term care is a competitive market, and we have to be prepared. A generation that is looking for value and quality and often measures these by services offered is about to assault us. Future residents and families will look for personalized care, offering activities, open dining, menu choices, wellness programs, and many other options. It's the small things that make the difference in a resident's daily experience. Providing immaculate housekeeping throughout the campus and a strong team providing excellent care and service is the difference between service and hospitality. It is the care you offer beyond the work required. Recently, Pat Com passed on examples of Mayflower hospitality when she reported that one resident returning from hospital was so happy to be back because the care is lots better here. And residents feel this is their home. The resident wanted each one of you, the staff, to know how grateful he is for the care you give to him. At the same time, another family were equally as appreciative of the care received. And today, some of us received an email from yet another family expressing their appreciation for everything you do. When you offer this level of hospitality, then you truly make a difference. Robinson and Gallagher have stated that the future long-term care customer, savvy and well-educated, will reformulate long-term care by demanding fine dining and concierge services. Scott Gruen, director of our dietary department, has gathered a task force representing all departments to implement open dining, first in the health center and eventually expanding it to all of the Mayflower community. This is an ambitious undertaking, but one Scott feels is absolutely necessary for the comfort and well-being of our residents and to meet the needs of cultural change that is upon us. Scott urges us to read and remember the 5 rights of dining. I think I just lost my microphone. Learn them and be aware. The right food, the right setting, the right preparation, the right time, the right choice. He wants not only to comply with state guidelines, but to provide choice, accessibility, pleasure, and fellowship, because that improves our residents' day and gives meaning to their life. Again, see the handout related to residents' rights, choices, and preferences related to dining services in your booklet on residents' rights. I've lost it. Well, so we need to imagine what this might look like. In one facility in Rhode Island, the manager has been experimenting with an extended meal service at breakfast time. She adapted her dining area to accommodate buffet-style meals in a very simple and effective way that complies with all food safety regulations and provides a large range of options from which to choose. Residents enter the dining room to the aroma of freshly made toast. The atmosphere is calm. There is a sense of welcome as residents come and go at their leisure. Conversation is flowing at the tables, and residents are relaxing over their meal. There is no rushing to finish before plates are cleared. At 9 in the morning, residents who get up later come to breakfast as some residents leave to pursue their daily activities. Others are having second helpings. Staff serve residents who cannot or do not wish to serve themselves, while others are happy to get their own. Not everyone, staff or residents, will welcome such changes initially, but once they experience it and observe the change in residents, they will participate willingly. Who doesn't want to greet each day being treated as a special guest? Soon, those living in our health center and BB will know they are special guests. It will impact every department. Schedules will have to be adjusted. It will be inconvenient at times, but Scott is committed to change. He plans on exploring many different ways of providing our residents with an exceptional dining experience. After accomplishing this in the health center, he will extend it to all our dining rooms. He plans on exploring many different ways of providing our residents with an exceptional dining experience. He will be ready for the boomers and the millennials. As noted in the beginning of this presentation, the boomers now reaching 70, totaling approximately 70 million, will make a big impact on long-term care in coming years. There will be many challenges as they fill skilled care beds, assisted living, continuing care retirement communities, and mental health and dementia facilities. We are encountering some of these requests already. It takes careful planning, staff time, and teamwork to address their needs. It will not be easy. Your job will not get easier, providing the care they will want and demand. Scott has rightly noted that the time has come for us to face the changes ahead, and he is planning for the inevitable. Boomers come with diverse diet and dining preferences. The menu will have to be varied and may need to include sushi. How many of you here eat sushi? I hear it all the time. See, it's already started. Tofu, organic and gluten-free foods, vegetarian options. Not on your menu, is it, Bob? Not even now. Even international menus and barbecues may be requested. There will be increased demands for fresh fruit and vegetables and an expectation that the food will come from local growers. Scott has already put us on the map in Ag Magazine by using Iowa Choice Harvest frozen fruits and vegetables, and you can get them in our own fairway. Their mission is to connect customers with earth-conscious farmers who grow high-quality fruits and vegetables. Exactly what prospective residents are looking for, and Mayflower already delivers. It will be a challenge to meet these needs consistently at a reasonable cost, provide sufficient staff to prepare and serve them, and comply with state and federal guidelines for dietary needs and health issues. These are just a few concerns to be addressed before we can launch an open dining program. Exciting and challenging. Food is not the only area of concern of the new long-term care population. They also expect customized fitness and activity programs. Traditional programs will be phased out. Gone will be our sing for fun and the singing of old-time favorites and hymns. The new generation will expect everything you can imagine. Led Zeppelin, Grateful Dead, Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles, jazz, new classical. If it exists, someone will want it. And minimizing the volume will be a problem for our facilities department. Headphones will definitely be a necessity. Inspired by the documentary Alive Inside, residents voted a gift from the MRA for 9 new iPod Apple Shuffle units to provide our South Village residents with music to suit their taste. This is an example of what to expect in the future. And our present residents, MRA members, understand this. Current programming, bingo, penny pitch, Wheel of Fortune, baking, etc., will be a thing of the past. There may be more desire for club activities centered on hobbies and interests such as photography, bird watching, poker, bridge, mahjong, and dance classes. Consider the groups we already have meeting on campus, and they will likely expand to all areas of Mayflower. Drama, music, art, scrapbooking, and crafts will likely become part of the daily schedule. And at that point, our DON has said she will give up her job and run the scrapbooking classes. All staff will have to become proactive in providing program suggestions and spending time with residents. It will no longer be the work of the activity department alone. You know your residents. We must work as a team. For an example, we recently installed IN2L technology in both the Health Center Activity Room and the South Village. With this new and adaptive technology, any staff, resident or family member, can help residents enjoy games, visit web pages, read newspapers, visit museums and art galleries, revisit their favorite country, or Skype with grandchildren or friends. We are one of only 2,000 communities in all 50 states who have already integrated this technology into their facility. This is the way to the future. David, did you have anything to add on the IN2L? Not right now. A great tool, says Sherry. Activities will need to be custom designed for the resident and entered into their care plan, noting their preferences and how the activity meets their physical, health needs, and psychosocial needs. We will need to arrange for necessary outside services such as Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, service clubs, chiropractors, yoga, and Tai Chi instructors. We already use massage, music, and aromatherapy. Baby boomers will expect autonomy with regard to their daily routines. They may not be satisfied with medical care offered within a facility. When they have to give up driving, they will expect transportation to be available for outings such as physician's appointments, shopping, or meeting friends. They will expect to retain the lifestyles they have enjoyed and will not easily adjust or conform to community life. Provision for alternative medicine, wellness, and fitness programs will have to be provided. As programs and building use increase, It doesn't take much to imagine the stress that will be placed on housekeeping and facilities to meet residents' multiple demands and expectations. We will need to be prepared for changes in psychosocial and mental health requirements. It is not only the social worker, chaplains, and nurses who need awareness, compassion, and skill in giving care and support to residents. Often the residents talk more honestly with housekeeping and facility staff. This being the case, you will need to be aware of residents' rights and HIPAA and know how to speak with residents when they share intimate details of their lives and the process of referral for the best care. A handout on person-centered intervention provides you insight into connecting positively with residents. Spiritual needs are not the same as religious affiliation. Everyone has spiritual needs, and the task of recognizing and addressing them in the daily routine requires an awareness we have not had to exercise before. We will need to expand our home services staff and services to meet the needs residents and families request following an accident, illness, or hospital stay. Negotiating costs and coverage will also be a challenge. The question of bringing about culture change and person-centered care at Mayflower will require time, study, and gradual integration into the community. There will be an immense difference in delivery of care for nursing, and we will be addressing that in separate sessions. The first nursing session will be August 18 at 2 p.m. It will be necessary to develop policies to address issues of sexuality, marijuana, and other drugs baby boomers may be using. In addition, it will be necessary to address internet usage, personal possessions such as TENS units, vibrators, supplements, and to provide screening tests that must be performed prior to admission. There are many questions ahead. Are we ready? As a vast number of baby boomers will require long-term care services in the future, these considerations represent not only challenges, but opportunities. To transition successfully, it is critical that we are more in touch with consumers and individuals who have needs and desires and will demand, control, individuality, and options in order to prosper and to continue to lead a meaningful life. Our mission and goal remains the same in the 21st century as it did when Dr. Royal Montgomery first conceived a retirement community in Grinnell. Angela Merkel said, "When it comes to human dignity, we cannot make compromises." Mayflower remains a place to call home, a place where all affirm the dignity and worth of residents and staff. Our goal is commitment to provide a place in which residents experience the finest quality of life. Mayflower will meet future challenges. We will be ready because we cannot make compromises. So are there any questions for any of the staff that are here? Any questions about culture change? None? Well, then, thank you. And on the back of your packet is also a list of resources that you can revert to for questions you might have.